So you've made the decision. Your family is ready to bring in some help. You open your laptop, type in home caregiver near me, and suddenly you're looking at dozens of results. Agencies, independent caregivers, comparison sites, with no clear way to tell the good from the not so good. Hiring a caregiver is one of the most important decisions a family can make. You are inviting someone into your loved one's home, into their daily life, sometimes into their most vulnerable moments. Getting this right matters, and knowing what to ask and what to watch out for is the difference between a situation that works beautifully and one that falls apart. Today, I'm giving you the complete hiring guide, the questions to ask, the red flags to spot, and the things most families don't think to check until it's too late. Before we get to the questions, you need to understand the 3 main paths, because they come with very different risks, responsibilities, and outcomes for your family. Option A, hiring through an agency. A home care agency handles recruiting, screening, training, and employing caregivers on your behalf. They carry liability insurance, handle payroll taxes, and can usually provide a replacement caregiver if your regular one is sick or unavailable. You pay more per hour, but much of that premium buys you protection, reliability, and accountability. The trade-off? Agencies employ a limited pool of caregivers, which means they often match you with whoever is available, not necessarily the best fit for your loved one. Caregiver turnover can also be a challenge, and families have less say in who comes through the door. Option B, hiring an independent caregiver. Hiring privately, through a referral, a website, or a community board, typically costs less per hour, but it also means you become the employer. You are responsible for background checks, payroll taxes, workers' compensation, and finding a backup when that person is unavailable. Important. If you hire an independent caregiver and pay them more than a certain threshold per year, you are legally their employer, with all the tax and liability responsibilities that entails. Consult an accountant or elder law attorney if you go this route. Option C, the hybrid model. Independent caregivers with agency-level protection. And it's worth knowing about. Some specialized services connect families with independent caregivers who are fully covered by liability insurance and occupational accident insurance, just like agency employees. That means you get the legal protection of an agency without carrying it yourself. But here's what sets this model apart. Instead of being limited to a small pool of agency employees, these platforms typically have networks of 300 to 500 or more caregivers in the area. That means matching is based on who is genuinely the best fit for your loved one, their personality, their care needs, their routine, not just who is free that week. Because the caregiver works directly with your family, relationships tend to be more consistent and personal. Families often report better continuity of care, the same familiar face week after week, and rates that are more competitive than traditional agencies. The caregiver isn't being reassigned by a scheduler. They're showing up for your family. If you can find a service that combines the protection of an agency with the flexibility, choice, and personal connection of an independent arrangement, that's a combination worth exploring seriously. None of these paths is right for every family. What matters is understanding what each one offers and what it asks of you in return. Question 1. Are your caregivers employees or independent contractors? This is the first and most important question. Caregivers who are agency employees are covered by the agency's workers' compensation and liability insurance. Contractors may not be, which means if they're injured in your loved one's home, you could be liable. A reputable agency will answer this confidently and clearly. Question 2. What does your background check process include? Background checks vary enormously. Some agencies run a basic national criminal database search. Others check sex offender registries, verify identity, check references personally, and run ongoing monitoring after hire. Ask specifically, Do you run state-level criminal checks in every state the caregiver has lived in? Do you check the sex offender registry? Do you call references or just collect them? The depth of the background check tells you a great deal about how seriously the agency takes safety.
Question 3. What training do your caregivers receive? Training standards vary widely by state and by agency. At minimum, ask whether caregivers receive training in dementia care, fall prevention, medication reminders, and emergency response. If your loved one has a specific condition, Parkinson's, dementia, post-stroke recovery, ask whether the agency has caregivers with experience or specialized training in that area. Question 4. What happens if my regular caregiver is sick or can't come? This question separates agencies with real infrastructure from those without it. A strong agency will have a clear, practiced answer. They will contact you by a certain time, they have a pool of backup caregivers, and they will ensure coverage. If the answer is vague, or if they say, "We'll figure it out," that is a red flag. Question 5. How do you match caregivers to clients? The best care relationships aren't just about skills. They're about personality, communication style, shared interests, and compatibility. Ask whether the agency has a formal matching process, whether you'll have the opportunity to meet the caregiver before they start, and what happens if the match isn't working. A good agency wants the match to work as much as you do. If they can't describe their process, that's worth noting.
Red flag. An agency that can't clearly explain their hiring and screening process. Red flag. Caregivers who ask to be paid in cash and off the books. No written service agreement or contract. Everything is verbal. Red flag. Pressure to commit to a large number of hours immediately before your needs are assessed. Red flag. An agency that is reluctant to give you references from current or past clients. Red flag. Caregivers who overshare personal problems, ask for loans or gifts, or try to build an exclusive relationship that excludes family members. Check the agency's license. Home care agencies are licensed at the state level, and requirements vary. Verify that any agency you're considering is currently licensed in your state. Your state's Department of Health website is usually the place to check. Verify insurance. Ask for a certificate of insurance showing general liability and workers' compensation coverage. A legitimate agency will have this readily available. Look at reviews carefully. Google reviews, Yelp, and the Better Business Bureau can surface patterns. 1 or 2 negative reviews are normal. A pattern of complaints about reliability, responsiveness, or caregiver quality is a signal. Talk to the caregiver directly. Before care begins, meet the caregiver. Have a real conversation. Observe how they interact with your loved one. Does your parent seem at ease with them? That first impression matters. The free guide in the description below includes a printable caregiver interview checklist. Every question from today's video organized by category, with space to take notes during your calls and meetings. You don't have to hold all of this in your head. Print it, use it, and bring it to every agency conversation. And if you're just beginning this search and feeling overwhelmed, that's completely normal. The most important first step is starting the conversation. The right agency will answer your questions thoroughly, treat you like a partner, and make the process feel less daunting, not more. You're doing something incredibly loving for your family. Let's make sure you do it well.